So a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Don't take too much off.
That's how all things are. There's always a beginning, there's always a middle, and there's always an end.
Oh, come on.
Here we go for today's number. It's August 7, 2022. 10 balls. Each ball has a number. Numbers 1 through 10. You heard it was 9?
It's a movie, and Mr. David Lynch.
This is cool. Hi, Ruku. Hey, Ruku. Just seeing if you're listening.
Hello.
Isn't that cool? The TV's turned off right now, too. So it listens even when the television's turned off. Isn't that cool? Well, welcome to the Please Subscribe Show. I'm Cole. I'm also a playwright, screenplay writer, and I make little videos on YouTube that's getting a lot of attention. And thank you for the new subscribers and all the comments. And this is
Linda.
And what do you do, Linda? She's in the food industry. We don't give out the exact restaurants due to the past. We used to do that. But Linda's been in the food industry for how long?
On your beeswax?
She's been in the food industry for like 20 years?
Yeah.
About 20 years. And what are you having to eat today?
Pay attention to the road, please. Chicken and wheat bread. Cheese.
Chicken and wheat bread.
Something quick.
And y'all have a good August.
Already cooked chicken. So we decided to reheat it up in my Tupperware dish. Tupperware dish. Tupperware.
And y'all have a good August 7th. Or actually, let me start it over. For all the film people, y'all have a good August 7th. And for all the English butthole professors, y'all have a good August 7th. So I'd take 2. Now, for all the film people out there, y'all have a good August 7 for all the cinematic avant-garde filmmakers.
August 7th.
And for all the English a-hole professors, y'all have a good August 7th. Well, here we are again in Fort Worth, Texas. And there it is, the United States Postal Office. This one was founded in 1931 and went into business in 1933. Neoclassicism, architecture, that's actually a 16-wheeler. And Baroque, so it's got a little bit of Baroque in there too. You can see some of it. And then look at this right here, Neoclassicism and Baroque. It's in there, you just have to find it. Isn't that something? The same month that Linda was born was March 26th of 1911 in Columbus, Mississippi. A man named Thomas Lanier Williams, known as Tennessee Williams as his professional name, was not a name or nickname given to him as a child. It was given to him as an adult playwright in the New York theater scene as a professional name, like a pen name. It was a mature name that he got later when he was older. Tennessee Williams has a long history of the South. Like many architects and artists, poets, playwrights, and writers, he was swarming with poetic conviction and truth about humanity and wanted to reveal a secret to you and to other people. Tennessee Williams was actually related to a man named Lanier, Sidney, and he was a poet of the Confederacy. He was a famous poet, and he was related to Tennessee Williams. Well, Tennessee Williams was a descendant and part of his family bloodline. Tennessee Williams actually started writing plays at the age of 10 years old and poetry. He spent many years with his mother writing essays, poems, plays that nobody even found. And they were never published. They were just kind of sitting there. He did win some contest in school. He did write an essay in school that got him a lot of attention. And he even wrote plays during high school and things like that as well. Now remember, he was born in 1911, and Tennessee Williams did not become famous until 1944 when he wrote Glass Menagerie, which was known as a memory play. Williams was English and Welsh, and I believe it's pronounced Huguenots, which is a French Protestant ancestry. He was raised Episcopalian, and part of his family were actually shipped around, or he was shipped around because of the Episcopalian church, and he even lived in what's called it's kind of like a church housing. So they did live in church housing, which is known as a rectory. It's an Episcopalian thing. His father was a shoe salesman and a horrible alcoholic. His alcoholism got so bad that his mother and father decided to kind of go through a lot of issues of recovery with his father, but they never divorced. They somewhat, pretty much you could say, always stayed together. Williams was also raised by his grandfather and his grandparents, which were also Episcopalian. His older sister was named Rose Isabel. She was born in 1909. She was older. His brother was younger, and his name was Walter. And he was a little different than some of the other children, but he was younger, playful, spirited. They say that when Williams met Marlon Brando, he knew immediately that he was an actor, and he knew immediately that the play would be a success with him. because originally we're not going to use Marlon Brando in Streetcar. Streetcar is the play that made him a lot of financial success, ended up turning into a movie. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is Tennessee Williams was actually straight. He had a girlfriend in high school. It didn't really work out that well, but he was with women. Now, I haven't researched the whole Wally Cox thing, and that's not really between him and Tennessee Williams. That was between Marlon Brando and Wally Cox. But I don't know if there's been any public expression from Tennessee Williams, publicly talking about his sexuality, but certainly in the LBGT community, it's expressed that he was a homo. I'm doing my own research by going through different television footage from different television series, like the DC show and things like that. And probably he does talk about it a little bit, but there probably was some bohemian lifestyle going on in Broadway. I think there was some connections, some type of connection with Truman Capote, but don't know if they were, like friends and stuff. He did know of Marlon Brando, he was around Marlon and Marilyn Monroe too. He was familiar with that. So was Arthur Miller. He was around that age, but no one knows the exact details. Probably pretty much no one knows but God, really, and word of mouth. Because some people will do that kind of stuff to sell things. Look at the Three's Company, John Ritter. We don't really know for 100%, but probably. I'm looking for it when he's like talking about it, things like that, because people can lie in order to make money. So whether Tennessee Williams was gay or straight, no one really knows. They don't have real evidence of it, because people will do that to sell books, or they'll do that to sell plays. So no one really knows, because he was quite the actor. Now, he was more of a playwright and poet. But he was very entertaining on talk shows, especially the DC show. And one thing that he did do was he sold his plays. Now, he was a salesman too. He also he did work in factories and stuff, but he was also a salesman. He's also a school teacher. His family was dysfunctional. Okay, so that's actually true, because of his alcoholic father, who was a shoe salesman. They were dysfunctional, and his father did have problems, but his mother and his father never divorced. That never happened. They always stayed married. When Williams was 8 years old, his father was promoted, and they moved to St. Louis, Missouri. And there was a rumor that's where he achieved his nickname Tennessee. That didn't happen until he was a professional writer, until he was a grown man. That's when he earned the name Tennessee Williams. That was his pen name. Can a good wife be a good sport? That was the essay title. There's a big fan behind me. He's waving and everything. Hi. That was the essay title of the essay that he wrote when he was 16. And it was published in a magazine called Smart Set. The Vengeance of Nitocris was also a literary work written by Tennessee Williams in 1928 under a magazine called Weird Tales. In 1928, Williams would travel to Europe with his grandfather. His grandfather, Dakin, and him would spend many, many long hours walking the roads of Europe and looking at the scenery and pondering about life and philosophy. His grandfather was very philosophical and helped him a lot. Eventually, as time grew, with his writings and his plays and his characters, were times philosophical and had statements and things. What's interesting is Stanley Kowalski was probably a little bit based on Tennessee Williams himself. Now, they do say that these playwrights spy on people and write about people's lives and things like that. But there's a lot of things Stanley Kowalski said that Tennessee Williams himself would have said. Same thing with Blanche DuBois, too. But he wasn't a raging, flaming homo like people would think. A lot of people would even really recognize it. He did have a limp. He was 5'6", 5'5", almost 5'6". It was like 5'5" and a half. And he had stubby hands and suffered from gout. He also walked with a cane as he got older. Now, there are a lot of rumors on how Tennessee Williams died. The rumor I was told was that it was from a sinus capsule, from nasal, that got launched into his throat, and he suffocated. Now, that's if they removed the cap from his throat or if it somehow went up through his nose. But he was drinking and he was alone when it happened. Some say it was a stroke. They don't really know exactly what happened to a certain degree. But he was found dead in a suite in New York City, pretty much at his writing table. Tennessee Williams was actually two-time winner of the Pulitzer Prize. Not many playwrights win that. I think Sam Shepard only won it once. Tennessee Williams he won it 2 times. I believe Streetcar was one of them. Here's some facts. Stella Adler in New York City, who was an acting teacher, taught at the New School University. That's my alma mater. I went to the New School University. So did Sean Baker. So did Bradley Cooper. Now, Stella Adler taught at the New School University, and Tennessee Williams went to the New School University. Marlon Brando was a student of Stella Adler. In the play Streetcar, she screams out, "Stella!" Or I'm sorry, Blanche does, but in Streetcar, Marlon actually screams out, "Stella, Stella," as in Stella for star, but that's how Blanche calls her. But Stella, meaning Stella, Stella Kowalski. He was screaming out for his wife, Stella. But his teacher's name was Stella Adler. It's pretty interesting. It's an interesting little thing because Tennessee Williams was actually a teacher. So in Glass Menagerie, I'm assuming that many have read it or seen it or heard about it. Tom Wingfield plays a factory worker that also fancies himself as a poet and is called Shakespeare by a friend that had gone to school with his sister, Laura Wingfield. His mother, who likes to wake him up, rise and shine, Tom. Gets annoying after a while, annoys him. But somewhere in the mix, he throws out some poetry and he says, "The longest time is the distance between 2 places." Now, the longest time could represent eternity. You could easily change that to time is the distance between 2 places. Or you could change it to eternity is the distance between 2 places. So in actuality, you're victims of my editing. And in Glass Menagerie, they're all victims of time. Time is the longest distance between 2 places, is what he came up with. So there's a few mistakes until he finally wrote it. Time, he was talking about time. So time is the distance, or time is the longest distance between 2 places. That's probably what he's talking about. I think he was talking about heaven and hell. And for all you English professors, he actually uses the word for. So for time is the longest distance between two places. I think saying that he's talking about heaven and hell is probably talking about a memory. So we got some pine needle issues on this roof right here.